Nobody is perfect. And that is the best news you will ever hear. English Avenue 24/7, full script. There is a version of you that never speaks. Not because you have nothing to say, not because you are stupid, not because your English is terrible, but because somewhere deep inside, you decided that you would only open your mouth when you were ready, when your English was perfect, when your confidence was high, when you were sure, completely, absolutely sure that no one would judge you. And so you wait. You have been waiting for a long time now. And every single day that you wait, the person you could be is standing at a door you refuse to open. Today I want to tell you a story. It is not a happy story. It is not a fake story about someone who woke up one morning and changed their life forever. It is the kind of story that is going to hurt a little, because you are going to recognize yourself in it, and that recognition, that moment when you see your own face in someone else's pain, that is where real change begins. The person in this story is named Daniel, and before this is over, you are going to understand something about yourself that no English class, no textbook, and no grammar lesson has ever been able to teach you. So stay with me, all the way to the end, because the thing waiting for you at the end of this story, the truth that took Daniel years to find, I am going to give it to you today, right here, for free. But you have to stay. Part 1. The boy who hated his own reflection. Daniel was 23 years old. He lived in a small rented room in a busy city. One bed, one table, one chair, and one mirror on the wall. Every morning he woke up at 7 o'clock. And every morning, without fail, the first thing he did was walk to that mirror. Not to check his hair, not to feel good about himself. He walked to that mirror the same way someone walks to a courtroom. To be judged. He would stand there and begin. My face doesn't look right. My body isn't strong enough. My English is not fluent. My confidence is too low. Every morning, the same trial, the same verdict, guilty. And then he would go to his closet and begin the next ritual, the clothes. He would put on a shirt, take it off, try another one, take it off again. Not because he wanted to look good, because he was terrified of what people would think if he got it wrong. When he went outside, he walked carefully. He spoke carefully. He even laughed carefully, because there was a voice inside his head that never stopped. Just 2 words. Over and over. Don't make a mistake. Now here is what you need to understand about Daniel. He was not lazy. He worked hard. He watched English videos every night. He practiced vocabulary. He repeated phrases in front of his phone. He tried, but there was a wall between his practice and his real life, and that wall had a name: fear. One afternoon at his office, Daniel's manager looked across the room and said, "Daniel, can you explain this report in English?" Simple request, normal moment, nothing unusual. But for Daniel, those words were like a fire alarm going off inside his chest. He stood up. He knew the content. He had practiced something like this. He understood every word in that report. But the moment he was standing there with people looking at him, something happened. His mind went blank. The words he had practiced gone. His heart started hitting the inside of his chest like it wanted to get out. His hands went cold. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. The room was silent. People were waiting. Not laughing. Not making faces. Just waiting. But in Daniel's mind, that silence felt like the loudest humiliation of his life. Finally, his manager said, "It's okay, sit down." Those 3 words, "It's okay, sit down," they were meant to be kind, but they broke something inside him. That night, Daniel sat alone in his room, lights off, phone in his hand but not using it. Just sitting in the dark, replaying the same 3 seconds over and over. Why didn't I speak? Why am I like this? Why can't I just be normal? And then, slowly, the thoughts got heavier. I am not confident. I am not smart. I am not good enough. And then the most dangerous thought of all crept in. Maybe I will never change. That one sentence, maybe I will never change. That is the sentence that can end a person, not the failure, not the embarrassment. That sentence. Because once you believe it, you stop trying. And once you stop trying, it becomes true. But here's what Daniel didn't understand yet. His problem was not his English. His problem was not his confidence. His real problem, the one underneath everything else, was a belief. The belief that he had to be perfect before he could begin. He was waiting to feel ready. Waiting to feel confident. Waiting to feel fluent. Waiting for some future version of himself to show up and save him. And while he waited, life kept moving. Without him. This is the trap that stops more people than you know. Not failure. Not difficulty. Not lack of talent. The trap of waiting to be ready. Let me say that again so it lands. You don't become perfect and then start. You start. And then slowly, painfully, imperfectly, you become better. Daniel didn't know that yet, but one night, everything was about to crack open. Literally. One night, Daniel stood in front of his mirror. He had been standing there for a while, not speaking, not moving, just staring at the face he had been criticizing for years. And something shifted. He raised his hand and hit the mirror. A sharp sound. A thin crack appeared. Daniel stepped back. He looked at his reflection again, but now his face was not one image anymore. It was broken into pieces, each piece showing something different. One piece showed him angry, another showed him tired, another showed him tired, another showed him tired, another showed something he hadn't seen in a long time. Fear. Real, honest, human fear. And for the first time in years, he didn't look away. He whispered something. Low. Barely a sound. I am tired of trying to be perfect. He didn't know it yet, but that moment, that crack in the mirror, was the beginning. Because sometimes the most important things in life don't start with success. They start with breaking. Now I need to stop here for a moment and talk directly to you. Because right now, there is a word I want you to feel before we continue. That word is exhausted. Say it slowly. Exhausted. It means deeply, completely tired, not just physically, emotionally, mentally. Tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix. Daniel was exhausted, not from working, from pretending, from the daily performance of trying to appear like someone he wasn't, from the effort of speaking carefully, walking carefully, laughing carefully. From years of managing everyone else's possible opinion of him, that kind of exhaustion is real. And if you have ever felt it, you know exactly what I mean. This is a video about English. But the English you are going to learn in the next hour has nothing to do with grammar. It has everything to do with what stops you from using the grammar you already know. Stay with me. Part 2. The night he couldn't run from himself. Daniel did not fix the mirror that night. He didn't clean it. He didn't cover it. He sat down in front of it, in the dark, and he stayed there. Usually, whenever Daniel felt uncomfortable, he would escape, open his phone, scroll, watch videos, anything to drown out the voice inside. But that night, something held him still, a feeling he couldn't quite name, something that said, not this time. So he sat. And the thoughts he had been running from for years started coming out. Why am I always afraid? Why do I care so much about what people think? Why do I feel small when other people are just standing next to me? He didn't have answers, just questions. Heavy, honest, uncomfortable questions. And then a memory arrived. He was 12 years old, standing in his school classroom. His teacher asked him to read something out loud in English. He began. He made a mistake. One small mistake. And some students laughed. Not loudly. Not for long. Just enough. In that moment, the 12-year-old Daniel did what children often do when they are hurt and have no way to process it. He laughed too. He acted like it didn't bother him. He smiled and moved on. But inside, something small and quiet broke. That was the first time he felt not enough. And from that day, without realizing it, he started building a wall made of caution. He became careful with his words, careful with his laughter, careful with everything. Because careful felt safe. And safe meant he would never feel that way again. But here is what happens when you spend years being careful. You stop being you. Slowly, careful became his personality. Careful became his identity, and underneath all that careful behavior was a decision he had never consciously made but had been living by every single day. Don't try unless you are perfect. That night in front of the broken mirror, Daniel finally saw it clearly. He wasn't afraid of making mistakes, he was afraid of feeling embarrassed. And to protect himself from that feeling, he had stopped acting, stopped speaking, stopped trying. He had been waiting for a version of himself that didn't exist yet. A version that was fluent, that was confident, that was ready. But that version would never arrive by waiting. Daniel stood up slowly and walked closer to the broken mirror. He looked at the crack running through it. And a thought came, quiet and strange. The mirror is broken, but I can still see myself. He stayed with that thought. Then another one came. My English is broken, but I can still speak. His breathing slowed down. A third thought came, stronger this time. My confidence is broken, but I can still try. He stood there for a long time, not crying, not celebrating, just feeling something he hadn't felt in years. Honesty. Not the kind of honesty where you list your flaws. The kind where you look at your flaws and stop hating them. People say the hardest part of growth is the work, but it isn't. The hardest part is this, looking at yourself, really looking, without turning away and without attacking what you see. Daniel tried that. He looked at his broken reflection, and instead of saying, I am not enough, he said something different, something simple, something true. I am not perfect, but I am still here. His voice was barely a whisper, but it was real. And something in his chest felt lighter, not fixed, not healed, just a little lighter. That night, Daniel did not make big promises. He didn't say, from tomorrow, everything changes. He didn't write a list of goals. He didn't tell himself he was a new person. He made one decision. Small, quiet, but real. Tomorrow, I will try once. Not perfectly, not confidently, just honestly. And then he lay down on his bed. His life was not fixed. His fears were still there. His English had not improved while he slept. But something had started. Not confidence, not success. Something more important than both of those. Awareness. The awareness that the wall he had been hiding behind was not protecting him. It was holding him prisoner. Let me give you a phrase before we continue. A phrase native English speakers use all the time. To turn a corner. It means to reach a point where things begin to change for the better. After a long struggle, after a difficult time, you turn a corner. You don't fix everything. You don't arrive anywhere. You simply change direction. Daniel turned a corner that night. Not because something outside of him changed, because something inside of him shifted. He stopped waiting to be fixed and started deciding to try. That is where the real story begins. Let me pause here for something important, something I want you to carry with you through the rest of this story. There is a difference between two kinds of people who are learning English. The first kind studies English. They memorize words. They take notes. They know the grammar rules. And they wait. They wait until they know enough, until they are fluent enough, until they feel ready enough. The second kind practices English. They know they will make mistakes. They speak anyway. They feel embarrassed sometimes. They speak anyway. They forget words in the middle of a sentence. They find new words and keep going. The first kind might know more. The second kind actually speaks, and speaking, real, imperfect, human speaking, is the only thing that will ever make you better. Daniel had been the first kind his entire life. Now, slowly, something was pulling him toward becoming the second. Part 3. The day he finally faced the world. The next morning, Daniel woke up earlier than usual. Not because he was excited, not because he was motivated, because his mind would not let him sleep. He opened his eyes, stared at the ceiling. Then the thought came back. Today I will try once. But in the bright cold light of morning, that thought did not feel strong. It felt fragile, like a small flame in the wind. His mind started immediately. What if you fail again? What if people laugh? What if nothing changes? This is how fear works. The moment you decide to change, fear does not get smaller. It gets louder, because fear is not stupid. Fear knows that if you act, things will be different, and different is what fear is most afraid of. Daniel sat up, looked at the broken mirror. He stood in front of it, looked at himself. His hair was messy, his eyes were tired. His face was not the face he wanted. The old habit started immediately. You don't look good today. You are still the same. Nothing has changed. But then he remembered. Last night he didn't promise to become perfect. He promised to try once. So he said one word to himself. Try. Not be perfect. Not be confident. Just try. He got dressed. Usually this part of his morning took a long time. He would try on shirt after shirt, stand in front of the mirror, adjust and readjust, not because he cared about fashion, because he was trying to reduce the chances of judgment. But today, he picked a shirt, looked at it once. His mind tried to stop him. Change it. Maybe it's not right. People will notice. Daniel took a small breath and said quietly to himself, "It's okay. Not perfect, but okay." 2 words. Not perfect, but okay. 2 words. Not perfect, but okay. That was new. He stepped outside. The city was the same. People walking. Cars moving. The noise of a regular morning. But inside him, everything felt different. Heavier. Because today, he had a plan. One thing. One moment. One try. He walked to his office, sat at his desk, tried to work. But his mind was not on the screen. It was waiting, listening for the moment. And then the moment came. A colleague walked over to his desk. "Daniel, can you explain this part of the report?" Simple question. Ordinary moment. But for Daniel, every nerve in his body fired at once. Heart faster. Throat dry. Hands cold. The exact same feelings as before. For a few seconds he said nothing. His mind screamed, "Don't do it. You will mess up. Stay safe. Say you don't know." The old pattern. Avoid, protect, disappear. But then something else appeared. Not loud, not powerful, just a quiet memory. The broken mirror. His voice in the dark. "Tomorrow, I will try once." He took one slow breath, and he spoke. His voice came out small, not confident, not smooth. I think this part shows the data from last month, and it compares it with this week. His sentence was not perfect. His grammar was not flawless. His voice was slightly shaking. But he didn't stop. He kept going. Found words slowly. Paused when he needed to. Made small mistakes and continued through them. His colleague listened, then nodded. "Yeah, that makes sense." That was it. No applause, no celebration, no dramatic moment. Just, "That makes sense." 4 words. But for Daniel, those 4 words were the sound of a wall coming down. He sat back down. He didn't feel confident. He didn't feel transformed. He felt something quieter, something real. Relief. A relief that comes not from succeeding perfectly, but from discovering that the thing you were afraid of is survivable. That realization, "I can do it even when I am not perfect," was more powerful than any motivational video he had ever watched. The rest of that day, he tried again. Not dramatically. Small moments. A sentence here. A question there. Not smooth, not impressive, but real. And every single time he tried, something inside him became a little stronger. Not confidence, not yet. Courage. There is a difference between confidence and courage that I want you to understand. Confidence says, "I know I can do this." Courage says, "I don't know if I can do this, but I am going to try anyway." Confidence comes after you have succeeded. Courage is what you need before you have ever succeeded. Daniel was not confident, but for the first time, he was becoming courageous. That evening, he stood in front of the broken mirror again. The crack was still there. Nothing outside had changed. But he looked at himself and didn't search for flaws the way he usually did. He just stood there and quietly said something new. Maybe I don't need to fix everything. Maybe I just need to keep trying. He went to bed that night with something he hadn't felt in a long time. Not happiness, not confidence, just peace, small and quiet. But real? The next morning, the same room, the same mirror, the same life. But something had shifted, and real change, not the dramatic kind, not the kind they show in movies. Real change feels exactly like that. Small, quiet, almost invisible. Until one day it isn't. Daniel went to work, spoke once or twice, small things, simple sentences, and he thought, maybe I am finally changing. But life does not reward that thought. Life tests it. Later that afternoon, his manager came to his desk. Daniel, we have a client meeting this afternoon. I want you to explain the report. Not a colleague asking a small question. A client meeting. More people, more pressure, more risk. Daniel nodded, said, okay, but inside every alarm was going off. He sat at his desk but couldn't work. His mind was already in that meeting room, imagining the people, imagining the silence, imagining himself forgetting every word he knew. And slowly, fear turned into something worse. Doubt. Maybe yesterday was luck. Maybe I can't do this again. Maybe I was wrong to think I was changing. This is how progress dies. Not dramatically. Quietly. When one hard moment makes you forget every small victory that came before it. Daniel stood up, walked to the bathroom, closed the door, stood at the sink and looked at himself in the mirror there. A different mirror, no crack, perfect reflection. And suddenly the old Daniel came back, the one who criticizes, the one who fears, the one who runs. You can't do this, you will fail. Just tell them you are not ready. For a few seconds he almost decided, I won't do it. And honestly, this is what most people do. They try once, they feel something changing, then something harder comes, and they go back, because staying the same feels safer than failing at something new. Daniel gripped the edge of the sink. His hands were cold. He looked into his own eyes, and for a long moment, everything was completely still. Then one thought came, quiet, not powerful, not inspiring, just honest. If I run now, I will stay the same forever. That sentence. That simple, ordinary sentence. He let it sit. He thought about all those mornings, all those nights in the dark, all those years of standing in front of mirrors and hating what he saw, and he understood something he had never been able to say before. Running will not protect me. It will trap me. He took one deep breath. He didn't feel confident. He didn't feel ready. He still felt scared. But he made a decision. Not a comfortable one. Not an easy one. A painful one. I will do it, even if I fail. That sentence, right there. That is where real growth begins. Not when you feel ready, when you act without being ready. The time came. Daniel walked into the meeting room. People were sitting, talking, waiting. He sat down, hands cold, heart fast. Nothing about him had magically changed. His manager looked at him. Daniel, you can start. That moment felt heavy. Everything slowed down. Daniel stood up, looked at the screen, looked at the people, and for 1 second his mind went completely blank. The same fear, the same silence, the exact place where he had frozen before. But this time he didn't wait to feel ready. He didn't wait for confidence to arrive and rescue him. He just started, slowly, carefully. This report shows the performance of the last quarter. His voice was not strong, but it was there. He continued. He paused sometimes. He searched for words. He made small mistakes. He corrected himself and kept going. And something unexpected happened. People listened. Normally. No one stopped him. No one made faces. Some people nodded. And slowly, not dramatically, just slowly, his voice became a little more stable. Not perfect, but better. When he finished, there was a small silence. Then someone at the table said, "That was clear." 2 words. For most people, that would be nothing. For Daniel, it was everything. Not because he had been perfect, because he had done it, even with fear, even with mistakes, even without confidence. He had done it. That evening, Daniel walked home slowly, not rushing, not replaying the meeting 100 times, just walking. And he thought about something. Something he had believed his entire life that he now realized was completely wrong. He had believed that confidence comes first, that you feel confident and then you act. That confidence is the starting point. But now he understood. Confidence does not come before action. Confidence comes after action. You act first. You feel afraid and you act anyway. And then, after you have acted, a small piece of confidence grows. Not much, just a piece. And that piece is the foundation for the next try. And the next. He had been waiting at a door, believing that confidence was the key, but the key was never confidence. The key was the decision to step forward without it. When he got home, he stood in front of the broken mirror. The same crack, the same imperfect reflection. But now he saw something new in it. Not perfection, not success, something quieter, something more valuable, strength, a quiet, worn, hard-earned strength. And he said slowly, "I am still imperfect." He paused. Then he smiled. Not a big smile, just a real one. "But I'm not afraid of it anymore." That sentence, that is not the end of a story. That is the beginning of a life. Part 4. The day he stopped chasing perfection. Days passed. Then weeks. Daniel's life did not become perfect. He did not wake up one morning as a different person. He was not suddenly fluent. He was not suddenly fearless. He still made mistakes. His voice still shook sometimes. He still forgot words. He still had bad days where the old fear came back like a heavy cloud. But something had changed permanently. He stopped running. Before, Daniel's life had a pattern. Think too much. Fear the mistake. Stay silent. Regret later. Then repeat. Now his pattern was different. Try even when scared. Speak even when unsure. Acknowledge the mistake. Move forward. Not perfectly. Not smoothly. But honestly. And slowly his world started changing. At work, people began to notice him, not because he had become the best speaker, not because his English was flawless, but because he had started participating. He asked questions, he shared ideas, he spoke more. His sentences were not always perfect, but they were clear, and something important happened. People did not respect him because he was perfect, they respected him because he was real. There is a phrase I want you to understand, a native speaker phrase. To show up. It does not mean to physically appear somewhere. It means to be fully present, to participate, to bring yourself into a situation rather than hiding at the edges of it. Daniel had spent years not showing up. Now he was showing up, and people felt the difference. One morning, his manager called him. "Daniel," he said, "I want you to lead the next presentation." If this had happened a few months earlier, Daniel would have panicked. He would have made excuses. He would have found a way to avoid it. But now he just paused. Fear was still there. It never fully disappears. But this time, fear did not control the answer. He smiled slightly. "Okay, I will try." Not, "I will be perfect." Not, "I am confident." Just, "I will try." Those 3 words contain more real confidence than any boast Daniel could ever make. The day of the presentation came. Daniel stood in front of more people than ever before. His heart was beating. His hands were not fully steady. But inside him, underneath the fear, something was calm, because he had arrived at a truth that most people spend their entire lives running from. I don't need to be perfect to stand here. He started speaking. This time he was not trying to impress anyone. He was not performing. He was not managing every word and every pause and every expression. He was just trying to communicate, one human to other humans, saying what he understood in the clearest way he could. And because of that, his words became natural, not perfect, but natural. And natural is far more powerful than perfect. He made mistakes. He corrected himself. He continued. And something beautiful happened. People connected with him, not despite his imperfections, because of them, because they recognized in him something true, something they felt too. Fear, effort, honesty. And honesty, real, visible, unguarded honesty, is the most powerful communication skill in the world. No textbook will ever teach you that. But I am teaching it to you right now. When Daniel finished, the room was quiet for a moment. Then the applause came. Not thunderous, just warm, real. He walked home that night slowly. He stood in front of his broken mirror one final time. The same crack. The same reflection. Still imperfect, still human, still real. But now he saw something else. Growth. Not on the outside, on the inside. And for the first time in as long as he could remember, he smiled at his own reflection, without judging it, without wishing it were different. He said something that came from deep within. I wasted so much time trying to be perfect. He paused, breathed. But life started changing only when I accepted that I am not. Now I want to talk to you directly, not to Daniel, to you, because this is not just his story. It is yours. Right now, today, you are waiting for something. You are waiting to speak when your English feels perfect. Waiting to try when your confidence is high. Waiting to start when you feel fully, completely ready. But listen to me. That day is not coming. Not because you are not capable, because perfection is not a destination. It is an illusion, a moving horizon that retreats every time you get close. The real people who grow, in English, in life, in anything, are not the people who waited until they were perfect. They are the people who spoke with mistakes, tried with fear, failed without quitting, continued without excuses. Let me give you one truth to carry with you forever. Perfection is not the goal. Progress is. You do not need perfect English to speak English. You need the courage to speak it imperfectly. You do not need full confidence to start. You need the decision to act without it. You do not need to fix everything before you begin. You just need to begin. And here is what will happen when you do. Something small will work. Something imperfect will connect. Someone will nod. Someone will say, "That makes sense." And a small piece of courage will form inside you. Just a piece, but it is yours. And from that piece, everything else grows. Stop waiting. Stop overthinking. Stop hiding behind the idea that one day you will be ready. Speak. Even when your voice shakes, try. Even when you feel afraid, start. Even when you are not ready, because your life will not change when you become perfect. Your life will change when you stop chasing perfection. And remember this, nobody is perfect. Absolutely nobody. Not the people you are comparing yourself to, not the people whose English you admire, not the confident speakers you watch online. Nobody. And that means this, you already have exactly what every other human being has, imperfection, and the chance to grow from it. This is your moment, not tomorrow, right now. Don't wait anymore. Vocabulary. 10 words that will change how you speak. The first word is exhausted. Pronounce it like this. Exhausted. Exhausted. This does not just mean tired. It means completely drained. Tired in your body, your mind, your emotions, all at once. In a sentence, after years of pretending to be confident, Daniel was exhausted. How native speakers use it? I'm not just tired, I'm exhausted. Like, can't think straight, exhausted. The memory hook. Think of someone who's been running for hours. They have used up every bit of energy. That is exhausted. It is tired, but stronger. Much stronger. The second word is fluent. Pronounce it like this. Fluent. Fluent. Fluent means speaking a language naturally and smoothly, without stopping to search for every word. In a sentence, Daniel dreamed of being fluent, but he was so afraid of mistakes that he never practiced speaking. How native speakers use it: she's not just okay in Spanish, she's fluent. Like, you'd think it was her first language. The memory hook: think of water flowing. Fluid, smooth, no blockages. That is what fluent speech sounds like, smooth and unblocked. The third word is hesitate. Pronounce it like this. Hesitate. Pronounce it like this. Hesitate. Hesitate. To hesitate means to pause before doing something because you are uncertain or afraid. In a sentence, every time Daniel was asked a question, he hesitated, even when he knew the answer. How native speakers use it: don't hesitate. Just send the email. The longer you wait, the worse it gets. The memory hook: think of standing at the edge of a swimming pool, not quite jumping in. That pause, that moment of almost but not yet, that is hesitation. The fourth word is imperfect. Pronounce it like this. Imperfect. 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 Imperfect simply means not perfect. Having flaws. Not complete or finished. In a sentence, his English was imperfect, but it was honest, and people connected with it. How native speakers use it: it's an imperfect solution, but it works for now. The memory hook: the prefix in means not, so imperfect literally means not perfect. Easy to remember once you know it. The fifth word is to show up. This is a phrasal verb. 2 words, 1 meaning. To show up means to arrive and be fully present, to participate rather than disappear. In a sentence, the most important change Daniel made was simple. He started showing up. How native speakers use it: half of success is just showing up. Seriously, just being there changes everything. The memory hook: picture someone who is always hiding. Then one day they walk in, stand there, visible. That is showing up. You cannot be seen if you do not show up. The sixth word is breakthrough. Pronounce it like this. Break. Through. Breakthrough. A breakthrough is a sudden and important discovery or achievement, especially after a long period of difficulty. In a sentence, the night Daniel spoke to his colleague, that small, quiet, shaking moment, that was his breakthrough. How native speakers use it: we've been stuck for months, but I think we just had a breakthrough. The memory hook: think of a wall. You push and nothing happens. Then suddenly you break through. That moment of finally getting through the wall, that is a breakthrough. The seventh word is vulnerable. Pronounce it like this. Bull. Near. Bull. Vulnerable. Vulnerable. Vulnerable means open to being hurt, emotionally exposed, unprotected. In a sentence, Daniel was terrified of being vulnerable, so he hid. But hiding cost him everything. How native speakers use it: I hate feeling vulnerable. But honestly, that's when the best conversations happen. The memory hook: think of an animal with no shell, no armor, completely exposed. That is vulnerability. It feels dangerous, but it is also where real connection begins. The eighth word is to turn a corner. This is an idiom. An idiom is a phrase where the meaning is different from the literal words. To turn a corner means to reach a point where things start to improve after a difficult period. In a sentence, after that night in front of the broken mirror, Daniel finally turned a corner. How native speakers use it: things were really dark for a while, but I think I've turned a corner. The memory hook: imagine you are walking down a very long, difficult street. You cannot see what is ahead. Then you turn a corner, and the path opens up. Better. Lighter. That is what this phrase means. The ninth word is to freeze. Pronounce it like this. Free. Z. Free. Z. Freeze. In English, to freeze does not only mean to become cold, It also means to suddenly become completely still, unable to move or speak, usually because of fear or shock. In a sentence, Daniel knew the answer. He had practiced it. But the moment people looked at him, he froze. How native speakers use it? I totally froze in the interview. My mind just went blank. The memory hook, think of ice. When water freezes, it stops moving. When a person freezes, they stop too. Everything stops. That is the feeling. The 10th word is resilience. Pronounce it like this. Riok. Zil. Ience. Resilience. Resilience. Resilience is the ability to recover from difficulty, to fall and get back up, to be broken and keep going. In a sentence, Daniel's greatest quality was not his English, it was his resilience. He kept trying even when it hurt. How native speakers use it. What I admire about her is her resilience. She's been through so much, and she just keeps going. The memory hook, think of a rubber band. You can stretch it, bend it, pull it hard, but it bounces back. That bounce back quality, that is resilience. These 10 words are yours now. Use them, not just in English class, in real conversations, in real moments. Let them live in your mouth, not just your notes. Because that is what Daniel finally learned. Language does not live in your head. It lives in the moments you choose to use it. A final word before you go. You listened to this entire story. You stayed. And that means something. Most people would have left by now. They would have told themselves they would finish later. But you are still here. That is the same quality Daniel had to find. The ability to stay when it would be easier to leave. The ability to keep going when stopping feels more comfortable. You already have that. You just showed it. Now take it out of this story and into your real life. Your English will not become perfect, but it will become yours. And that is worth far more. Go speak. Go try. Go fail a little. Then try again. The world does not need your perfect English. It needs your real voice. Use it.